Now, when we think about these, right, these are still traditional passwordless and multi-factor, or password and multi-factor system. We still have a shared secret. We still have this one, two, three set of factors. Do you see many people moving towards the passwordless standard? So that's the other standard that FIDO champions, FIDO2, which does allow to log into web apps, different resources, using biometrics and using a public key cryptography action. Do you see many people moving down that route, or do you think we're still in early days on passwordless?
I think we're still in the early days. I think people need to be introduced to that. And some people, it's been kind of a slow adoption for multi-factor authentication in the first place, just because it's a change, it's something different. They understand the need for it, for multi-factor authentication, to very effective and easy and kind of simple way to mitigate phishing attacks or credential compromise attacks. But then you come out and say passwordless, and they say, whoa, 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 what do you mean? You just told me. You've been telling me for years now that I need to put in my password and the second factor of authentication. Now you're telling me I can not put in my password, and then we have this, what is this concept about? So I think it justifies a good explanation to say, well, now, with MFA, traditional MFA, it would be, you'd put in your username and your password, and then you'd put in your two-factor authentication, your device. And with passwordless, you still need a device, but the second factor of authentication is some sort of biometric. Maybe it's leveraging is that called Hello in Windows? I believe it is, right? Where it can see
Windows
your,
Hello, yeah.
That's right, recognize your face, and that might count as a second factor of authentication, or a fingerprint scanner, right? And then tie that onto, say, a push authentication onto your phone. Now all of a sudden, and this is an interesting concept also, which is kind of exciting, security has traditionally kind of gotten in the way of people getting things done, to slow things down. Okay, now I need, instead of just popping open my application, now I need to jump through a few hoops to get to where I need to get to. That can be frustrating if you're not familiar with it or you haven't been properly trained on it. Now we're getting towards these technologies that actually make it easier. You don't have to remember or type in these passwords, or all you need to do is look. You're looking at the screen already, right? So you don't have to manually do anything for facial recognition, or a fingerprint scanner is easy enough. People are used to doing that on their phones by now, and the push authentication, they're used to it. So in that way, you save a few seconds of having to enter your credentials, right? So it's a good balance of adding security and convenience at the same time.
Yeah, I think what you said there too jumps out at me. There's not many opportunities for the security team to add a benefit. There's not many opportunities for the security team to show up and go, guess what? We're making your life simpler. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of examples there for along the lines of convenience is the Duo Network Gateway is one of the features included with Duo, where you can now log into your internal web applications, and it sort of automatically happens without having to connect to your VPN. That doesn't mean it's insecure. It proxies this web proxy through a Duo Network Gateway pre-set up. So you get your internal application. You have multi-factor authentication to boot for some additional security, and you've gotten into your web application. So now I'm finding more and more I'm able to get a lot more of what I need to get done without even having to connect to VPN, know that it's still secure. So that's another example of convenience with security. That's what you were asking about, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
As well. Mm-hmm.
So Cisco recently adopted Zero Trust and rolled out Duo, and that exact technology you're mentioning to, tens of thousands of users. And that was my favorite feature. Is I'm not very pro VPN, but it is a little bit of hassle to connect, dial in, and then you got tunnel issues and everything else. So yeah, that's a really good one. Single sign-on. What do you think about single sign-on? So you mentioned earlier differences in how apps connect and making sure you got consistent experience for users and passwords and factors.
Yeah, single sign-on is really great. Here's the dilemma. you have a number of different applications with their own set of credentials. More and more and more. You may have 10 different applications, web applications, that you're trying to get to, different cloud infrastructures or cloud applications. And so you're trying to remember, and they've always said, people, security has always told you, don't reuse your passwords, right? Use different sets of credentials for each of your applications. That way, if your credentials get compromised, it at least contains it to whatever application that those credentials pertain to. That's all good and fine, but now we've got, and oh, by the way, you need to have passwords that are 25 characters long, upper, lower, and you know, underscore with spaces and characters. And oh no, don't do that anymore. Now we're doing passphrases, right? But long passphrases. I don't know, movie quotes or songs, lyrics, something long that you can remember. Regardless, human beings are saying, I can't keep track of this. So it's human nature for people to sort of have a side stash of their credentials written, maybe on a notepad that's hidden in their laptop, or heaven forbid, under their keyboard, you know, the proverbial passwords under the keyboard. So we don't want that, right? That's, first of all, it's intrusive on productivity to have to put in, you know, a 25 character password, to have to remember what that password is. And just by the time you get it memorized, now you got to change it every 6 months or so, right? So enter the password manager, which has been all good and fine. I think the security industry initially was a little skeptical of that. I do see pretty widespread acceptance of password managers now. I would heavily caveat that you need to have multi-factor authentication with your password manager. It's kind of crazy not to, because that is the keys to the kingdom. So have some method, secondary method of getting into your password manager. And I really recommend still using a pretty long password, complex password to get in that password manager. But still, what would be simpler is to have fewer sets of credentials. So with single sign-on, that's where you integrate your cloud applications with, say, your Active Directory, and you have you know, you already know your Active Directory, you already logged in, that's a set of credentials you get to, and that way that'll authenticate you to each of your applications. Oftentimes, once you've authenticated to that first SSO application, the next ones do not require you to log in. It knows that you've logged into this other one, so it'll sort of pass through that authentication. Now, with Duo, of course, with single sign-on implies multi-factor authentication. So it's not that you seamlessly bump through these different applications. You still need to get, say, your push authentication as you hop from application to application to application. But that's still a lot easier if you're opening up 5 or 10 applications to enter your user credentials once, and then just have to hit the little accept on your phone for each application you bounce between is a lot more convenient. Duo has, I don't even know how many, a huge number of native SSO integrations built right into the application, but it also has a generic one that's called SAML2, and so that's just a common method for single sign-on authentication that's been around for some time now, and it's you know, industry standard. So that'll allow you to set up even your own custom applications, even your internal applications if they're compatible with that, to leverage single sign-on to reduce the number of logins.